These mics will have to be passed on. Yeah.
We'll go live in 3
So
minutes.
okay.
Okay.
You can keep it with voice.
You tell Aarti and everyone you're doing live. Just now. Okay.
How much time do we have?
We will have full time.
1 hour?
1 hour. We got the extension for this room. अरे हम क्या कर सकते हैं अभी चीफ आ गया बॉस आ गया इसमें वोट होता है इधर but we have got extension so we will do the full session okay
First of all, apologies for this delay. Really sorry for this. This was really unplanned. And
is this working check
sorry
check
for this. One small request: when you're using your mic, please don't put your finger on top of the mic side. Otherwise, with the live, that's yeah. Because otherwise, the live people can't hear. There are about 400 to 500 people already live there. So request to do that. Yeah, over to Jayan.
no are we going live yeah so we're going live okay so good morning I'm Arun here so I'll be the moderator for this panel and we are going live from Bharat Mandapam, which is the venue for the AI India Global Summit. I have with me here an esteemed panel, and the panel will be discussing a very relevant and an important question, a very important point, which is AI, scaling AI for the masses for Viksit Bharat by 2047. Before I, get into the panel, I thought I'll just set the context. I think it's very, very important that we set up the voice in the social sector for AI, so that we use AI in this sector to ensure that we ride the opportunity wave and not, have the whole sector, the beneficiaries in this sector, stand by and lose that opportunity. And I think this panel, is focused on that. So let me just begin by introducing all the esteemed panelists who are here. We have Saachi, who is coming from Gates Foundation. She's based in Delhi. So it was very easy for her to come to this place. So thank you, Saachi, for coming. And then we have Jaideep. Jaideep has come all the way from Mumbai, and he is the CEO for the Team Leads. Thank you, Jaideep, for coming in. Then we have Giorgia, who is the UN UA head for the India, and she was based in Delhi. I think you also had a much more comfortable ride coming to the venue. Then we have Kunal. Kunal works with Dalberg. He leads the digital data practice in Dalberg, and I guess we work with Dalberg very closely. We always believe that they are the McKinsey of the social sector. Thank you, Kunal, for coming in. Then we have Bharath. Bharath is based in Delhi again, and Bharath heads the India office for British Asian Trust, who do some very deep and wonderful work in India. So all of them come with a very rich understanding and experience of working not only in the social sector, but also with the youths, which is the focus of our conversation today. So before I start with having conversations with the panelists, want to just tell you that this is the grand finale of what we started the whole conversation on AI as a part. We organized 5 pre-events, summit events in Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Mumbai, where the focus was to discuss AI impact on the youths. And then as a grand finale, we have organized 2 panels. This first panel we did was on 18th, which was also live streamed. And there, the whole topic of discussion was to build AI-ready talent. And this is the last of the panel, which is a part of the AI India Global Summit, where it is about scaling AI for masses. And with that as a context, I will start with Saachi. Saachi, I have known you for quite some time. You are a very strong believer and a practitioner of gender bias, gender equality, sorry. And my apologies, it happens when you are in this, it happens when you are a part of this little chaotic stuff outright. And as someone who has been a very outspoken spokesman for gender equality, and how the question to you is, if AI is scaled without a gender lens, what risk do we face in terms of women's economic participation? Over to you.
Thank you so much, and such a pleasure to be here to talk about a really important topic. This week has been very exciting, and there's been a lot of large announcements. And I think it's also very exciting to see the coming together of the tech world and the social development world at one venue. Um, Thank you for this question, because I think this is really a critical question that we need to make sure that we are not exacerbating existing inequities as we take forward the AI revolution. And I think that's the question, right? If AI scales without taking into account gender existing structural inequities, it's not just going to reflect the future is not just going to reflect that sort of inequity, but I think that inequity is going to get further exacerbated, and it's going to get institutionalized even further, right? So I think there are three risks that we run. First is just the foundational risk. It's really AI is as smart as the data that you're providing it and the training that you're giving it, and it's just going to get smarter and better using that. So if we are looking at data sets that don't take into account existing gender disaggregated data and the realities of half of the population, you're really sort of building a model that is going to keep feeding on itself and getting stronger, which is going to just take the same inequity forward. And so we need to make sure that the reality of women's lives and the data that sort of provides us with that analysis is training AI. And that includes things like the use of shared devices, the burden of care work that women disproportionately bear. And then also, what does paid work look like for women? It is largely informal at this point, but it is also flexible or intermittent. So we need to make sure that we are really taking into account those realities and not looking at these as sort of outliers. I think that's the first sort of fundamental risk that we run. Otherwise, we will continue automating exclusion. The second is that we need to really think about how does AI, and I think you're doing such great work in this space, how can we start using AI and make sure that, women and others who are otherwise excluded from the formal economy, how are we making sure that they have access to the right tools, the right skilling, so that they can actually be both productive sort of actors, but also benefit from the changes that are happening in the economy because of AI. And that means that we need to think about what are the roles that are most vulnerable to automation. We need to think about and largely women are in those sectors where this automation is going to start disrupting the way that work is happening. And so we need to think about intentional investment in reskilling. We need to start thinking about, and I said this a few days ago at another panel, actually what we have today is the entire system that we've had of formal education and really like high skilling but of the formal nature, and that sort of puts you onto the road to success, is not necessarily true anymore, right? Like you don't necessarily need to complete formal education to be successful. So, but what does that mean? What do you need? What type of skills do you need to be successful? And I think that's the piece, and you're all doing some great work in that space. Just let's make sure that we are not forgetting about half the population, and we are making sure we are reflecting their realities in this new space.
So I think, Sachi, a couple of things what you mentioned, caught my attention. I'm sure the attention of the audience also. You use the word automatic exclusion. I think in today's conversations which you are having, whether it is with the leaders out there, which happened yesterday, or multiple panels all over, including the first panel which we did on 18th, I think everybody is saying that the need of the hour is to upskill young people. And if you upskill them in the right way, then obviously they will ride the opportunity wave and not be left behind. So that focus, I think, is coming in, and I guess we will find a way to do it. But I think what many are not thinking, and I think you brought this on the table, is this whole element of AI getting into a bias mode if you are not careful with what you get it to learn. And I think we have read and seen that AI tools are prone to biases. And I think a country like India, where a large number of young people, young women are facing bias already, and if they are exposed to these biases from AI, it will be a very more challenging for us to deal with them, and they may be not riding the AI wave. So first, I think thank you for bringing that element, and I also completely agree with you, because we are a very Magic Bus is a very gender focused organization. Now we, in our adolescent as well as in the youth, our beneficiary count is more than 60%. And especially in the skilling, where we know that if you enroll a young person and who is a girl, it is 3x more difficult to efforts to skill them. But as a society, we need to do that, because a self-standing woman becomes a much more resilient pillar for the community, and we all seen this. And I think we need to give this additional extra attention, and also bring this to the notice of the policymakers, that we need to have a framework of how the AI platforms, AI tools don't generate negative biases against women, but they do the other way. So, so thank you for bringing this whole.
Can I just add
yeah.
one thing? I think for us, it's really important to think of women as economic actors
Yes.
and not just as beneficiaries.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so this shift that the government of India has also sort of
Yes.
pushed forward in terms of women-led development
Yes.
instead of women's development.
Yes.
So really shifting from a beneficiary model to a leadership model is such a great
Yes.
direction.
Correct. So what it essentially means is that we need to make sure that when we are building these AI frameworks for different sectors, especially the social sector, we need to keep a very strong lens on ensuring that there is a very strong focus on making sure the women also lead and ride the AI opportunity. So thank you so much. This is a very, very important input, and I think I'm glad that I asked the right person this question. Coming to you, Kunal, you work for Dalberg. You have a very ringside view of what the different various different agencies are trying to do in AI in this sector. So a question to you, more from the system perspective, is what are the 3 best models for the AI for masses initiatives which a country like India should adopt, because more than 500 million to 600 million are still living in the fringes of poverty. Reaching these low income communities at scale. I think that's a larger question, and I think I always, whichever forum I speak about, I think together we need to create that voice for the social sector, basically on AI, so that these kind of challenges and questions are answered. And when at the time of policy making? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you for that question, and thank you for having me on this panel. My apologies, I've lost my voice on day 5 a little bit. But I think the systems lens question is a really relevant one over here, because I've been hearing again and again through the last 4 5 days and through a lot of the work that we've done, is that since the whole AI boom started after ChatGPT sort of became mass media, um, we've seen a number of pilots being launched, but we've not seen the kind of impact at scale. So I'm glad that you're asking this question, but let me just contextualize this a little bit with some evidence on when we talk about AI for masses, then we're talking about sort of digital users, the masses who are digital users, right? So, and there's not a lot that we actually understand about these users. So last year we did a little bit of research. It was a nationwide research where we looked at who these digital users are, who are the people who've come online in the last 4 to 5 years, and we found some interesting facts. There are about 300 to 400 million people that have come online over the last 4 to 5 years. A large part of that are women. 90% of those people are low income users, which basically means that they have a household income of less than 20,000. A lot of those people rely on shared devices, especially women. Trust is a major factor. We found that 35 to 40% of these people who have come online are actually not using the internet in any way. They use it and then they kind of retract because they've had some sort of bad experience. So there is very limited trust, and building that trust to get AI to them is really important, right? So and there is a lot of reliance on the community still. So it's not only about online, it's about the offline trust that you can build, right? So taking this into context, that's why everybody gets really excited about generative AI as a technology, and that's why Sachi, we are also seeing now a lot of like social impact in this conversation for the first time in such a large scale summit, right? Because now you have a technology that's multimodal. Now you don't need a lot of digital literacy to be able to interact with this technology, right? You can talk to it in voice, in local languages, converse with it. It feels like a human. It can also speak to you in the voice of somebody that you trust, right? So for the communities that we're talking about over here, this technology has a lot of transformative potential. But that being said, we're still in the stage of pilots, right? So there are three things. They're not really models, but more like at the principle level that I think need to be done, right? One is that the technology is there already, right? People are if you have a if you look at say ChatGPT usage in India, a lot of the youngsters are already using ChatGPT for skilling and for education.
Yeah.
Right. So the question is, how do you build these partnerships between these sort of technology companies and the government? Because you really need to take this intelligence to systems which people are already used to interacting with. Government schemes for employment, for example, or primary schools, for example. So then you need to solve problems like procurement within the government. You need to solve problems of capacity within the government to actually work with this technology. That's one thing. The second is what Sachi was also talking about, right? How do you make sure that the data is inclusive enough? Because these models are not really being trained on these users, because these are new internet users. They don't really have any data right now, right? So you need to make sure that the right incentives are put out there, the right governance is out there for data to be collected and be made available to the ecosystem in general in a trusted manner. That's really important in the right governance framework. And that's why there's a lot to learn from India's DPI journey. I can talk about that later if that's relevant. And I guess the third thing would be again about the trust factor, right? Like how do you embed the right sort of safeguards in the applications that are being out there? How do you make sure that if something goes wrong, there's a proper redressal system out there, right? Because losing trust is can happen in a second. Gaining trust takes years, right? And for example, I mean, financial fraud is such a major issue in India, especially in low income communities, right? So having the right grievance redressal systems. uh, if you have to build capacity, then how do you build capacity of the community multipliers? These are the power users, right, who are actually making use of the technology. And if they are trained and they already have the trust of the communities, then you can really like get the technology to scale and the applications to scale. So these are the few principles that we probably could follow if you have to roll out AI for masses.
So I think, Kunal, your absolute is wonderful. From all of us many of us here in this panel, not all, who are from the social sector, I think one thing which we all worked on, and that's the basic fundamental principle, is building trust. Trust in all the networks we work with, especially in the community, especially if it's a woman or a lady. We are all seen in all the programs, whether it's a health program, whether it's a skilling program, whether it's an entrepreneurship program. I think the barrier is the device, because a male has a right to get a mobile phone first, and a woman, even if she is earning for the family, always gets a shared device. And we've seen that in our programs also. But we also have seen that if the young woman actually starts earning and gets economically empowered, she gets the right to get a device, in a sense. So that's the space she gets. So I guess you're absolutely right. I think this is a wonderful insight you have got after Saachi mentioned that, these are the things, like how do you build the right grievances system, how do you ensure that the interaction is safe and it is within the comfort level of the young woman, how do we make sure that they get access to bias, which is an asset. I think all these are not in the limelight of discussions when we talk about AI. There are other aspects, but I think these are some things which, if you don't take into considerations and start a public dialogue or a sector dialogue, we will not achieve what we call as AI for masses. But there's a sense of optimism here, because we know that together as players, we did a huge campaign on financial literacy, on digital literacy, and you've seen the results of it. A majority of the women in the rural sector, in urban, are all using the public device, platforms which are in place. So I guess thank you for bringing in that very, very wise insight. And just to give you some insights about that, we have together or developed in-house an AI agent for English learning. Now, when we did this, most of our energy went into not constructing that agent, but to making sure how robust the frameworks are, so that the young person who is learning is able to learn from the agent only what he needs to learn. So I guess these are important things. We are also in Magic Bus learning, understanding by doing these small innovations from that point of view. But there's a lot more to be done. And thank you. Thank you. Giorgia, thank you for coming. You represent UNICEF, UA. We know the wonderful work UA is doing in India, especially with youths. You believe in, empowering economically, empowering youths on scale, which is a very complex thing to do. We are also engaged in that space. So the question to you is, India has the world's largest youth population. We know this. What does it take? And I think we were having that conversation before the panel. What does it take to move from AI awareness to AI employability for rural and first-time job seekers? They could be in urban, peri-urban, etc. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me here. This is it's a great panel. It's a great discussion. I think some of the points that I wanted to make have already been covered, so I won't go into detail. However, what we really think is that from moving from AI awareness to AI employability, it's really not just addressing the skills gap, right? We need to look at access, equity, and the system alignment and the barriers that have been reflected upon. If you might allow me a couple of reflections from 5 days of AI summit, I wanted to start from where you left around the trust and responsible AI. I think this is an imperative for all of us to ensure that the safeguarding are in place when AI is designed. So at design stage, it shouldn't be an afterthought. So it's great to have the insights that you're having, and then think about how we can embed from the design stage safeguarding mechanism. Something else that I wanted to reflect upon is that the speed of this technology seems to be, I don't know how even to describe it, We know that in less than 3 years, more than 1.2 billion people globally have started to use AI tools. This is an adoption that is much faster than when the internet happened,
Yes.
right? So everything is moving very, very quickly. So I wanted to be, in Italy, we say go a little bit against the current. So maybe we need to stop a bit and reflect, because I think we are at an inflection point, right? We have a fantastic technology that brings in huge opportunities that we can see, some risks that we need to reflect upon. So maybe we need to become the architect of the future that we want to be, and really take the time to think what that future is going to look like, and build it together. So it's great actually to be here. Many of you are partners of ours, or we've been engaging in conversation. So all of us thinking, what is it that we want the future to look like? The other point that I wanted to make is that quite often when we talk about AI, we talk about AI as a technology. But I do think it's really important to reflect on it also from a social economic development perspective, right? We know that AI diffusion is moving forward, but there's still a gap. I think when I look at the statistics, 6 billion people are online, but 2.2 people are still offline. And this is a huge barrier. So, how do we address this when we look at AI? So, now going back to your question around awareness and employability, young people are aware of AI. They're aware everywhere. I was just in rural Rajasthan, and both young women and just youth, they all know about AI. Then when you ask them, what do you want to do in your future, they talk about AI as a future for them. But then when you dig a little bit deeper, you understand that, as you say, they are just aware, and it doesn't go beyond that. So I just wanted to highlight a few principles that I think can help in moving from AI awareness to AI employability. The first point is really looking at ensuring that at scale, and the NEP and other policies are helping to do this. You have digital skills, basic digital skills across for all, and then you build on top of this the AI fluency skills that are needed to engage with the technology. But this need to be coupled with the human skills, if we want to say it, so your
Perfect.
critical
Yes.
thinking and others. The other point, even when we think about AI employability, looking at the outcome in the end. So AI employability needs to create pathway for employment. In a way, the employment outcome needs to help design that employability pathway for AI. This is very important, and especially for youth who are maybe in rural areas, it needs to be contextualized to where they are. So it must connect to the real economic context as to where they are. And the last point, which is not, by the way, just my point. Before the summit started, we have reached out to 54,000 youth across the globe through a large survey to understand their fears and thoughts and opportunities around the AI. So this is something that they are saying. We verified this data collected with young people and children in India as well, is that and it goes to your point, right, where young people, they do not want to see themselves just as beneficiaries in this whole AI revolution, right? They need to be informed participants. They need to be part of the deployment, of the development, of the designing, and need to be informed based on real user cases how this technology is further developed for them. So I think those would be the three principles that I would like to share in this moment for how we can move from awareness to AI employability.
Yeah. So I guess thank you for your insights. Very, very comprehensive. One of the things which caught my attention, and I think I just want to just bring it and highlight it, is you said AI skills itself will not be enough for young people to successfully transit and navigate this whole disruptive AI world, but human skills are also required. I think we just did a broadcast and you emphasized that. And I think, let me just share some examples from what we do in Magic Bus. We launched the AI Connect with Work program. And this year, 2 years ago, and it's been very successful. And this year, we've just about, we'll be doing 135,000. And 90% of them, we are transiting them to the place of work. And these are just first-time graduates. They are not techies. And we asked ourselves as to why this phenomenal transition rate of 90%. It's simply because when we launched this program, we launched it not as an AI program, but AI program integrated with life skills and employability skills. And I think those 21st century skills help this young person who went through the program to overcome the fear of using AI. And he said that and figured out how do you work around with the AI tools, and that led to building a huge resilience and confidence, and they could clear the interview in the first lot. And then when we looked at these youths after 3 to 6 months, we found that they have climbed the ladders. Why? Because of this resilience, this tenacity, this confidence, the ability to be a problem solver, the ability to work as a team, the ability to apply logic. And I think that's required. If you want to successfully, we've learned that if you want to get these young people to be successful and not just get placed in job but successful, they need to learn how to work alongside the AI tool, because AI will automate a lot of these tasks. So your skills will then need to be what is that value you'll add along with the AI tool. And these are some of our priceless learnings, and that has led to a strong sense of optimism with us that all these young people will ride the AI wave and not just be on the side, provided we upskill them in the manner in which we need to do. So thank you, Giorgia, for your very, very important insights. And that adds to another layer, which is also not on the spotlight. People are talking about AI skilling, but people are not talking that human skills need to be also upskilled in this time. It's actually as important. So thank you so much. Jaideep, I know that you you were our keynote speaker in the last event we did in Mumbai, or as a pre-summit event. You spoke very wisely. I think you come with a perspective being a part of one of the largest aggregators in India. You lead team leads, so you have an inside view on youth. So the question to you from that perspective is, can initiatives from government, corporates, and philanthropy solve the AI-led job reskilling challenge? And if you think that it can work, tell us why it will work.
Sure. First of all, a big thank you to Magic Bus and the India AI Summit. I already forgot. Yeah. Thank you. And Philip, Arun, Jayant, Saachi, I mean, you all are friends. It's good to kind of converge over here on this platform. I know it's not been easy for you all to kind of manage all the time jugglery and jugglery with the UN Secretary General hijacking the place, but I think
we know how to manage, chaos.
Absolutely, and
including getting into this.
Correct. I mean, changing of rooms, timing. Thank you, and mostly to the online audience who've been patient enough.
Yeah.
Before I answer the question, I'd like to set a perspective. Arun, you started with 2047 being the vision of India. 2025 was the start of Generation Beta.
Generation Beta.
Yes, after Gen Z, Gen Alpha, you got Gen Beta.
So many of these are so rapidly changing.
Now do the math. In 2047, this Generation Beta will be graduating from universities.
Yeah.
This is an AI native generation.
Yes.
If the previous generation was a digital native generation and before that it was a tech native, this is an AI native generation. I mean, you're giving devices in their hands which are AI powered, I mean, no longer digital. So we need to think long term and we need to think how we'll help this. Second, AI for all, which has become one of the themes of this event over here. One needs to also understand that AI for all will not yield results until we get AI literacy. And AI literacy is very important because before we move to AI skills, we need to ensure there is AI literacy. So there is AI awareness and AI skills. In between that, you need AI literacy.
Absolutely.
At Team Leads at Tech, along with a whole bunch of other partners like yours and the Gates Foundation and all, we've kind of come up with a white paper, and I'm thankful the white paper was delayed. We'll now submit it after this to Niti Aayog. There are 2,000 use cases on AI literacy, right from the street cart vendor to the student in the college, to a homemaker, to a student in the school, to a working professional. How do you actually use AI to make it AI augmented human kind of efforts? And the third, which is going to be very scary for all of us, is to worry about AI obesity. During the 2010s, we were worried about information obesity. Now we are going to get AI obesity. I mean, tools are being thrown at you left, right, and center. So how do you pick the AI tool that's more useful for you and what will help you improve your productivity, turnaround, and performance at the workplace is very important. To answer your question, I'll answer it from two perspectives. One is Teamlee's EdTech and then take an industry example. At Teamlee's EdTech, we help, as Dr. Mashelkar, who's on the chair of our board, he says, doing good and doing well have to be interconnected. And we help a lot of young adults who've just turned 18th, cleared grade 12, transition their journey from campus to corporate. I mean, that is where you need philanthropy, you need academia, you need industry, you need everyone to kind of come together. Of course, the government also to kind of support this. The gross enrollment ratio of this country is at 30%. That means 70% of the kids choose not to get into higher education. And to make sure that you bring affordability and access. So, I mean, we believe that income inequality does not mean access inequality. How do you make higher education more affordable? Through online and distance mechanisms. Bring it to a fraction of a cost, make it affordable in an asynchronous model, learn anytime, learn anywhere. Each year, we onboard about 70,000 kids onto this program, and till date, we've helped about 7 lakh kids. We've served 2.5 lakh kids at any given point of time in this model. But we figured that unless you bring work to learning and create a work-integrated learning program, you're not actually helping the real transition happen, because a fresh graduate, as the industry perceives, is not employable. So you need to solve the education to employability curve. Now, we've layered AI on top of this. Over the last 3 years, as you also mentioned, there were tons of pilots and a lot of excitement on what to do, how to do, and all. But finally, we put our head down and we said we have to help the student who's in the campus, maybe virtual, and the young working professional who's just joined the workplace. I mean, we were fortunate enough to have bosses and mentors hover around us all the time, make us successful, give us a pat on the back, and like be with us. But in this hyper world, I mean, you don't have someone kind of mentoring you all around. So we've created a AI stack, a toolkit, which is now deployed to all these 2.5 lakh kids who are in the higher education. It's an AI tutor, multilingual, multimodal. You can use voice, you can use text, you can use images, and this is available for the higher education space, not just for your general basic math or something. For over 200 subjects, that means 200 degrees, that means thousands of subjects. And then when this young graduate moves into the workplace, we've created what we call as the career coach. So if it's a sales professional who's trying to sell you the next TV, fridge, washing machine, and you throw a curved question at him that how much tonnage is required for the air conditioning in this room, which by the way is not working, but the kid will be able to very quickly do a side chat with the coach and tell you that, hey, you know what, you need about 2 tons for a room like this, and be successful at the workplace without having to say, sir, I don't know, and lose the sale. So we are helping the kids be successful in this manner. I mean, really bringing the AI augmented human to the workplace. To give you an example of another industry, let's take the example of textile. I was talking to 2 founders of Jakaria and Luxure. What they are doing is making sure the Indian tailors now can serve customers sitting in New York. Using AI tools, a guy sitting in New York can literally get visual measurements of their shirt, jackets, or whatever. It's a guided tool. And the order comes to a tailor sitting in Bangalore. And you've got a custom made shirt, and you've eliminated all the intermediaries in between. You've got a tailor in Bangalore, you've got a customer in New York, and you've got someone like a DHL or a FedEx in between fulfilling that. I mean, that's real world use cases of where AI is coming in and helping people improve livelihoods and business. But circling back to your question, you need all 5 pillars: the student, the government, the academia, the philanthropy, and the industry to come together and make this happen. Just by themselves, each one will do a little bit but never be successful, and you need to put the student or the young adult at the center of it.
So thank you, Jaideep. I think your last sentence caught my attention definitely, because this is something we've been discussing day in and day out within our own organization and within our own circles. I think what you said is that together we can navigate and solve and ensure that youths are able to transit to this sustainable place of work. And if you do individually, you may not be able to scale and do this. And I think right at the back there is a statement on AI for masses. So we completely agree with you on this, and I think that is one of the reasons why for the last couple of months, as Magic Bus, as a contribution to this movement, we've seriously talking to various organizations to say, can we together form an AI collaborative where we have various focuses, create those safeguarding frameworks like what our other panelists spoke about. How do we make sure that the content reaches the last mile at the lowest cost, and so forth, so on, the whole gamut of what it is, and how do we influence policy for those issues which are not on the table right now and not a highlight of normal conversations which take place. And many of that we touched base in our conversation. So thank you for bringing this on the notice. And the other thing which you mentioned is, before awareness is important as foundation, creating a campaign on foundation skills. I think that's very right. We solved a lot of our challenges, whether it's in digital or transiting a lot of people making them digital literate or even cyber literate through awareness programs. So awareness program is equally as important as skilling programs, and I think that's a very strong take, and we completely endorse this. And we just did with one of our donor partners a huge awareness campaign on cyber. I know this is an AI-led discussion, but I'm just saying, I'm looking and talking about a model. And that whole thing we did, and we moved away from skilling, because I think what's going on in the country on cyber, and it's going to become worse with AI-led tools. People listen, people are aware, and when they listen and they're aware, they'll start taking their own necessary decision on how to stay with it or be away with it. And I think that's a very, very important take, that we need to ensure awareness campaigns are built in our AI for Masses movement as much as skilling campaigns, as much as anything else. So thank you, Jaideep, for bringing this one.
Before you move to Bharat, I'll just take 30 more seconds.
Yes.
Please do join the AI for All Alliance. It's a not-for-profit platform for furthering this cause.
Okay.
And we also spoke about in the Bombay event how AI has to be used with responsibility and recognize intellectual property.
Absolutely.
So at Team Lee's EdTech, we've actually created 3 patents,
yes,
but it's an open architecture available for anyone who wants to use
Wonderful.
it. So everyone is welcome.
I think that's the sense of collaboration we want to hear. Now, coming to Bharat, I think he's the second last panelist. Now we have made Jayant also a part of the panelist. Okay. Okay. So Bharat, wonderful job with British Asian Trust, and you have completely changed the dynamics of the social sector by bringing what you call as blended finance. And I think you've been a great practitioner of that. We've been a big recipient of that, and we have got some great advantages we've built for ourselves in terms of strengthening our process, etc. So it's a completely different question. It is related to AI, but it's a completely different question. And the question to you is, how can blended finance or catalytic capital help scale AI solution for underserved communities? Again, we are taking it back to underserved or marginalized societies, while the most of the conversations is happening on tech side. Yeah, Bharat.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Arun, and thank you for having me in such a great discussion. You're right. At the British Asian Trust, we have done a lot of work in that space around bringing innovative finance, blended finance into opportunities like this, right? Figuring out whether it is edtech, what can be done to spread edtech more, and we are starting to work a little bit more on AI now, as everybody is. I think for us, the question is, I think we decided early on in our journey that we didn't want to be caught up in the tool around sort of blended finance or innovative finance, right? It's easy to sort of lose sight of the problem while you're focusing on the tool. And so for us, it starts not with saying where can I apply blended finance, but almost with what is the problem that I'm looking to solve. Right? And so I think we've heard of some of the challenges here already on the panel, and we were talking about awareness of AI just now, for example. Right? So you could pick a challenge like that, and you could say that's what I'm trying to solve for. You could say instead, maybe it's innovation for a particular demographic segment that you're looking to accelerate. Right? Maybe it is a particular language which is still underserved. I think by now people are talking about at least a dozen Indian languages for most models, but that still leaves out so many other languages that might not just be getting picked. Right? And so you might pick a problem like that and say, that's what I want to focus on. It's innovation for this particular demographic in this particular language. Or you could say, it's really data and evidence that I'm after. Right? So a lot of models have proliferated, a lot of use cases have proliferated. But for someone to really seriously start to say, what does it take to scale this up and put even more capital behind it? The thing that might be missing might be data and evidence that says, is this actually working? What are the social outcomes that we are actually generating from this? Are people learning? For example, in an edtech situation, are people learning? How much are they learning? How does that compare with the status quo? Right? So those might be the kinds of questions that you're setting up to answer. So depending on each of these, you can apply blended finance slightly differently, to each of those circumstances. So for example, if it's innovation that you're after, we have been working on sort of just basic accelerators, right? Essentially saying, if you put a problem statement out saying, this is the area in which you're looking to accelerate innovation, that then starts to crowd in people who are interested in working on it and who are saying, look, I'm going to try my hand at that. I think this is a problem I can solve. And so that could be one way of bringing blended finance to work there. And the reason it's blended is because it's largely sort of a grant-based model which you're putting behind the accelerator itself. And ultimately, it is private capital that is probably funding the startups that are working on that problem, right? And so it's a blend there of the private capital that is putting money into the startups itself, and grant-based funding that has gone into sort of running the accelerator. Which provides the specific challenge or the specific opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. So that could be one example where you could use a blended finance model. I think in the data piece, we've seen a lot through many of the programs that we've run. Right? If we take the Skill Impact Bond as an example, that is a program where Magic Bus has been a wonderful partner, and where we've been able to look at the ability to show specific outcomes, which is people being placed in jobs and staying on in those jobs for at least 3 months after the training ended. And so if that is the outcome that you're after, you can then use a program that is sort of managed by grant capital alongside all of the other stacks of capital. There could be government funding that is in there. There could be private sector funding. There could be debt. Right. So you could look at all of these different stacks of capital and still narrowly focus this question on what is the data that I'm getting at the end of this program, and is it showing clear evidence that you are able to move the needle through specific practices to show that people are ending up in jobs and staying on in those jobs for a lot longer. Right? So that's how I would put it, Arun. I'll stop there to sum it up. It's sort of starting with the specific problem that you're looking to solve, and then designing a program around that to say, how do you actually address this?
No, this is absolutely true, and I think you bought the whole blended finance, culture in India. It's still in an infant stage, but you've taken the bold step to do it, and we've seen. So, I think we need to, as social sector folks, try to unlock capital beyond the traditional flows of grants, and whether it's from CSR, institution, or even individuals, into what you call as mainstream capital. And I think the only way to unlock that capital to flow into this world of AI-driven, what you call as external environment, is to unlock the private sector capital. Only then you will be able to solve real programs. Because without monies, you can't have any AI-driven programs. So I think one of the other things we need to bring on the table when we are getting together as responsible practitioners in this social sector is to say, what role will blended finance play into unlocking private capital, because AI related tools are expensive to build, to maintain, and for use, but they bring in enormous benefits. So we need to worry about that as much as we worry about safeguarding, as much we worry about other aspects which we discuss. So, Bharat, thank you for bringing this, and what we call in our own terminology as getting an understanding of result-based financing. I think that's where, but I think the nicest thing is with AI tools, you'll be able to measure and show results much more sharply than without using a traditional tool. So that's another plus point. So Jayant, I didn't introduce Jayant because he just came in when we started. Jayant is the CEO of Magic Bus. He's spent a decade in Magic Bus, and he's come like me after spending years and years in corporate world. And when he joined Magic Bus, we were a very small organization, and he has played a very big part in, in making it one of our largest non-profits in India. So, question to you, Jayant, is we're discussing AI. Okay. How do you think? Why do you think? And you've been a very big proponent of AI. Is non-profits who always struggle for funds should even look at AI as a core part of their strategy. And if you can interlay this with what you pushed and you are pushing in Magic Bus to adopt AI, it would be nice for all of us to understand this.
See, I believe that AI is not transformative; it is disruption. Actually, so you don't need a behavior change; you need a mindset change to do AI. So, and it is not a choice now. Whether you like it or not, you have to get onto this bus, the AI bus. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. So there's no choice, frankly speaking, for anybody not to get onto it. So I think that question, I would say, is
yes,
NGOs have to. Everybody has to get onto it. Forget NGOs. The way we live, the way we work, the way we kind of interact, transact. I think everything's going to change. As far as Magic Bus is concerned, I saw the opportunity pretty early. So we are probably the first movers on the AI side. And we decided that, first we will try small experiments internally within Magic Bus, workflows, efficiencies, redeploying our resources, etc. And we thought it worked for us, right? Then we said, let's take it to the beneficiary with the second thing we did. And Arun already spoke about it. So we took it to the beneficiaries, looking at what AI. The other thing that we studied very deeply, and this is very important, especially for you, Kunal, we said that when we are training people on AI, are they getting better and higher salaries? They are not. Because right now there are no AI jobs. Okay. So then we looked at these a little bit more deeply, we unpeeled some layers. We realized that these people are doing far better at their jobs than they were doing previously, because now they know how to use AI. And you saw some of the applications outside that people have built, this. So that was the second thing which kind of gave us confidence. We tried a couple of applications. The third that we are trying to do, which we are still yet to start, is AI for masses, which I think you also spoke about, right? So that's something which is required, the current context of the Indian reality. She spoke about 600, 700 million people. How do you really make AI meaningful for them? How do you include the unincluded? So those are the three things that, we are driving, and we hope that we are able to get some success on that. And this is that initiative. So
yeah. So Jan, thank you for, let me just share with you my own real life experience. So every time I meet Jayant, he talks about AI. I said, listen, we are a non-profit. So we have to work in the communities. We got to build that trust. But I guess at the end of the day, and I resisted AI for quite some time because I managed Livelihood in Magic Bus. But at the end of the day, when we launched the AI program, we saw the young people pick up AI, and how Jayant mentioned, they may not have got better salary, but now they are actually the people who got promoted faster than the people who don't know how to use AI tools, because they are adding value. So, and also I think when we are building the AI agents, I was not very sure, which we call Vani, it's there for demo, this for English practice for our young people. I was not very sure whether it will even, work. But I guess the message for non-profits, and there are a lot of non-profits out there who are a part of this audience for the live stream, is it is important that we ride the wave of this AI. We find ways and means to, build AI capacities not only within the platforms we use, which is very critical, but also through programming, which is absolutely building that agency in the youth or the young adolescent. We also build what you call as an AI agency in the young person. And I think one of the bigger challenges for an organization is if you build AI tools, you have to also layer it with what Jayant mentions all the time, changing the whole culture in an organization to start using data, which is you need to become a data-driven organization, and it's not very simple. But I guess if you don't do it, you'll be left behind. It's as simple as that, because AI will take over everything very fast. And I think so that's what it is, Jen. So thank you for sharing this and being an evangelist for AI in Magic Bus. So hopefully some of it will work, some of it will not work, but we will learn from what is not working. I think that is the important part. So I think we are nearing 1 o'clock. So I don't know why we haven't got a knock on the door. There she is. Okay. So I guess there is a time for one-liner question. I think I enjoy this whenever I moderate a one-liner. So I guess if we want to make AI and embed AI in the social sector and make it a part of everyday life, like a corporate hopefully will do it in the next 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. We don't want social sector to be left behind, because we serve a larger part of masses in India, which is striving for leading a dignified life, and it's 600 million of them. So we have a very, very important role to play as a sector. So what is that one thing which comes to your mind if you have to embed AI in successfully in the sector? Is it a financing model? Is it a policy model? Is it an infrastructure with simple access to mobile phones? Is it an entire thing about how we change our curriculum in our institutions, whether it's school, whether it's college, whether it is ITIs, whatever? Is it something else which I have not listed? Kunal, you're a wise man.
Well, I don't think there's. I mean, it's difficult to answer and say that this is one thing. What's happened is that this is a much required push for the non-profit sector, because the non-profit sector has sort of stayed away from digitization in general. So it's a good push. But all these things that you mentioned, financing, policy, partnerships, these are all enablers, right? And I think that where it really starts from, and somebody mentioned this, is identifying what are those tasks, what are those problems that where AI can actually come and solve those problems, can play a role. And AI, I mean, I'm very wary of the conversation that everybody has to adopt AI blindly. That's not true, right? You have to identify certain specific tasks, problem statements, programs where AI can actually make things more efficient, increase more affordability, increase more accessibility, and things like that, right? Identifying that, I think, is the one big thing. And then after that, the technology is already there. The enabling ecosystem is sort of coming up slowly. So those things can sort of fall in place. But identifying where to use AI and where not to use AI as well, I think, is probably the place to start from.
Wonderful. I think that's good.
Same question.
The question is, if we want to embed AI into the social sector and make sure that the social sector is not left behind, what is that one thing which comes to your mind that we must do?
I mean, I agree that it's not one thing, right? It's a combination of those that you said. The one thing that maybe was not in your list that I would add is to ensure that be it the young people, the communities, the women or the children need to be part of the design process, and their lived experiences, their needs need to be included in shaping what AI is going to look like. So I think moving from this beneficiary to more as a right holder aspect is really important, even in the AI transition.
Thank you. Very wise. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'll stick to one thing. It's a little counterintuitive. Everyone thinks that CSR philanthropy has to be just giving away. But if you link everything that we do, including AI initiatives, tied to economic success, either improve employability, improve household income, improve the wages that are already there. I mean, if AI can help do all of that through the mechanism of CSR and philanthropy, then I think we've hit the nail on its head.
Thank you, Bharat.
Again, it's not one thing, but the one thing that I would pick and put on top of my list is actually something that was discussed earlier around safeguards.
Wonderful.
Because I feel like the momentum of the technology will probably carry it to a large part of the masses anyway. But I do worry about the right safeguards not being in place and the potential harms of a technology like this. So that's the thing I'd put on top of my list.
Jayant?
I kind of agree. I think, trust and removing the bias is, I think, very critical.
Yeah,
Build credibility
yeah,
in anything.
I think I
Which is,
completely
see this,
endorse that.
and then he said the momentum is going to kind of, take that ahead.
Yeah.
So, but the trust and the biases, I think, which
Yeah.
is really, really critical.
Wonderful. So that brings the panel to the end. So it is left to me now to summarize. I think not a very difficult job, because I think every one of you spoke so wisely. When I was reading Economic Times today, and it carries a lot of wise quotes and trends from what the great tech leaders spoke here and what captains of the industry spoke, and even the Prime Minister spoke. I think I was delighted in the morning to see that one common thread which came right from all these stuff is that AI will not add value and probably will not succeed if it doesn't ensure that it impacts the society. I think so. These folks went beyond business to society, and there were a lot of people to say. Even the Prime Minister in his policy on AI, which says AI must reach the last mile. It should benefit every single citizen of a country. I think if that is what the whole approach of the thought leaders, the industry leaders, the prime ministers and presidents of the country is, and that is what this summit has brought out broadly as one of the main outcomes, I think it's good for the social sector. I think we can take courage from this stand which all these stalwarts have taken to work together, and very important, also put together all those pointers and which can lead to policies which we have just discussed today. So as Magic Bus, we are closely work with the India AI mission, and we are grateful to them to give us this chance to host 3 panels in this summit. So we will obviously collate all these insights and probably put together some kind of a documentation, give it to them, and then work, as Jayant mentioned, to form a collaborative of very meaningful and serious people who want to ensure that the social sector beneficiaries are empowered economically through AI usage, and that's where we see the true benefit. I think exciting 3, 4, 5 years ahead of us. So it's a combination of ensuring we survive, we thrive, and we get empowered. So
rightly put by the PM as Manav.
Yes, as Manav. So I think there's a lot of things which, and I think the Prime Minister has spoken for all of us. So I think with this, I close the panel, and thank you for everyone here for participating, giving your good insights, and for the audience out there. I hope you benefited from a lot of deep insights, and you will also, in a way, contribute to being a voice of the social sector in bringing those elements where we all, then the beneficiaries, are all ride the AI opportunities and not get left behind. So thank you, everyone, and God bless all of you. Thank you. Yeah, Jayant. Thank you for your wise comments. Thank you for your wise words.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your wise words. Thank you for your wise words. So we can have a photo, Philip. We can have a photo. Yeah.